this is Runa and you're listening to the Changemakers podcast, where we share tips, insight, tools and stories from other changemakers designed to motivate you to become the change you want to see in your world. Make sure you join our Changemakers community at runamagnus.com/podcast. And now, this is your time to sit back, relax and enjoy. Well, my dear audience, my dear fans out there, today I have something so special. It's so special for me because my guest today is someone that I grew up with. And when I was a teenager, I spent a year in a small town in Wisconsin. Yes, Wisconsin, USA. Cheese State is the thing that I learned at the time. I stayed there for 1 year, and I was a foreign exchange student, and this is probably one of the, thinking back, my transformation really began at that time, because that year I really learned so much, and I learned so much about how we are all different, yet at the same time, how we're all the same. And no matter where we came from, where our background was, or where our upbringing was, when it really came down to it, we were all human beings. And so today I have with me what I call my American sisters, because we grew up together that year. And she became my sister, and I've always been my sister ever since. I'm talking about Lisa. Well, for me, you're Lisa Jovanovic, but today you're Lisa J. Petersen. Right. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Runa. I have tears right now just listening to you, because we have stayed sisters for our whole lives, and it's an honor. I'm just excited to be here with you today and share this and I think about that year as you're talking about it, and it was just as transformational for me, because it does really make you understand there is a way, way, way big world out there, and we're just a small part of it, and how great it is that we were able to share that year together, and now all the years since. So excited.
Yeah. You're right. I think it is, being a host of a foreign exchange student is just as much as an experience as it is to be the student. And it really is, thinking about it, it's this whole thing when you really feel that there is more that connects us human beings than separates us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So before I went to the United States at that time, I was 17 years old when I left Iceland. I had a whole another picture in my head of what was America all about, and what was being part of a high school, and the whole thing that I at that time had only seen in the movies. So I had my own perception of that, and I had, now that I think about it, I put all the Americans into one big box.
One big box of cheese, right?
Yeah, being in Wisconsin, for sure. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're right. And going to boxes, and boxes have been really a big thing for me these last weeks, and probably is going to be for time moving forward. Writing the book, the story of boxes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and doing all the interviews. It's been making me feel like, oh my God, the layers of boxes that we are in, and how they are limiting us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And that comes to your story, really, Lisa. You, for me, are a woman that have really, for some reason, you managed to break out of so many boxes.
I guess when you're living it and you're in it, you don't realize it. When you look back and have conversations with someone like yourself that knows me and starts to say, well, you were here or there and this happened, I was like, you're right. I have, and I didn't even realize it. But honestly, Runa, I think if I would have known it, I don't know that I would have pushed forward like I have. So
yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Let's start with the first box that I'm thinking about, and that's your marriage box. Tell us about your story there.
Yes. Well, obviously I grew up in Wisconsin, and, just living in Wisconsin, you live in a box. And I can say that I grew up there my whole life. People are very closed-minded. Typically you grow up there, you stay there. It's the world I knew. Mm-hmm. And so graduated from high school, did not pursue veterinary medicine, where I got a degree in veterinary medicine, because, you just don't do that. You get married. I mean, that's what I was taught. Yeah. So I got married young, And I did end up working in veterinary medicine as a technician for a lot of years and had 3 children and lived in kind of the stay-at-home mom, take care of the kids, and your husband's off doing his thing. And you find out one day after being married for 20 years, 18 years, I got a knock on the door and I was handed a subpoena to be in court in 3 weeks. They were repossessing my van and going to start foreclosing procedures on my home. And I say that almost embarrassed. Like people would think, Lisa, how did you not know this? But you're involved in the kids. Your world is your kids. You trust your spouse. You think you've got this great partnership. And little did I know that he had his own agenda and money was gone. All of our money was gone. My kids' college money was gone. And I found myself, with 3 kids and 40 years old. And what am I going to do? Go live with mom and dad? No. So that's when my world really took a turn. And I was scared. And, what do you do?
Tell us, what did you do?
Well, no, it's just funny how things happen because I was about 5 days after I got the subpoena, and I can say this as a joke. I say, gosh, it's a good thing he was out of town when that woman knocked on the door and my world was like, my eyes were opened because you'd be visiting me in jail right now. Just kidding. But, that whole feeling of what? And about 3 days later, I got invited to this jewelry party my girlfriend was having, and I called her and said, listen, I'm not coming. I didn't want the world to know what was going on, but I just wasn't in the mood. And please come. Well, I lived in kind of the I don't know, I guess the perception that those home-based businesses are just whatever, party plan. But I went to have fun with the girls. And I asked the woman while I was watching her have so much fun, how much money do you make doing this? And she told me, and I thought, well, gosh, in Wisconsin, that could help me pay my bills and maybe this could work. So I was afraid at that time to be flat out vulnerable and honest here. I was the person that when I was invited to one of those parties at a friend's house, I made sure to show up after I knew everybody did their introductions because I was intimidated to speak in front of 2 people, much less a group of people. So I thought, okay, Lisa, you're really going to take on something by trying this. But I was desperate. And it's amazing what you do when you're desperate to figure things out and pay your bills. So I gave it a try, and the first one I did, the whole way there, I said, please don't let anybody show up. Please don't let anybody show up. And I got in there and there was a room full of women, and I was nervous, but I stood up and I did my presentation. And from there, it just took off. I realized I got my first paycheck. That was huge for me. So I'll fast forward quick. I did that. It started to go. And about 4 months later, I decided I wanted to start my life over. And that's when I really took a big leap. I packed up the kids and I moved to California. And why in the world would you pick the most expensive state in the country to move to?
Yeah, exactly. Flat broke.
Flat broke. But I was looking at it as it was warm. I grew up in the cold weather. I wanted a fresh start. And so I went out there and started it over again and took my business there. The big challenge with that was I didn't know anybody. And typically with, a home-based business, you call your friends and say, hey, will you do me a favor? So I had to step out of a huge box there, big box, to start meeting new people and getting myself out there. And so that was kind of what evolved through the marriage. And I learned a lot. I learned that, the big kick was trust. You really have to start a whole new feeling of how to trust and how to protect your heart too. So
yeah,
it was interesting.
And you go to California and you start to grow your business there and your jewelry business. At the same time, I know that you went out of a box when it comes to how you actually helped your kids with their education.
I did. So moving to California, it's a different culture, and I'm thrilled that my kids got to experience a lot more diversity than they did back in Wisconsin. But keep in mind that I'm going out there and into this whole new world, and unfortunately, the schools just are not quite the same education as you got back in the Midwest. So I, at the time, couldn't afford the private schools as I was just getting my business launched. So I went against the grain at the time and decided to homeschool the boys. my daughter was grown on her own at this point, and the boys were 13. And I homeschooled them for 2 years of what would have been their middle school.
Mm.
And then, of course, you get a lot of judgment and criticism on that. And then when they were starting high school, that's when they went off to the high school here.
Yeah, exactly. When you think back to that time in your life, what do you feel was the biggest transformation for yourself, for your own self growth?
Wow. Gosh, I don't even know if I could come up with what was the biggest. I think getting over the fears, letting myself understand how important it was to know that fear can hold us back and how real it is for everyone. I mean, everybody that I would meet along through my journey would be afraid to try this or afraid to do that. And it made me feel so empowered to be able to speak from what I had been through. You know, we're just touching the surface of how really devastating that whole journey was and how much I grew through it. And what I really took away was, gosh, if this girl from Wisconsin who lived in her little box can go and do this, you know, anybody can. So I think empowerment and learning how to navigate through things and not let fear hold you back, which was honestly turned out to be such a blessing for my kids because they watched all of this and it helped them understand that. I mean, I remember my one son saying, Mom, he was in high school, I just want you to know I tell all of my friends, you're my hero because of everything that we've been through and what you've done. And so I look at my kids now and they're all very confident and strong and go after different things that wouldn't be considered maybe what's traditional. And that makes me obviously very proud. But I feel like if through all of even the mistakes I made, gosh, we all wish we could go back and do things different and we can't. And there's some things that were mistakes I made along the way. But in the end, I really showed them. Wow.
Yeah. And exactly. Yeah. And when you're listening to you saying that, I'm also thinking as a role model who is breaking out of those boxes, those limiting boxes that are holding us back, tells me that your kids, their perspective to life is then a whole different. They see the possibility that it is possible to break out and it is possible to choose the box that you want to be in. And I know, and here's the thing, because I know you, Lisa. I mean, we've had our pajamas parties
we have.
Yeah, exactly. And it just gives me the chill to think about your journey so far and coming to California, being there all alone and starting your business there. Today, I know, I mean, you're such a role model, an inspiration. You are continuing that journey, going into now a whole new arena when it comes to health. I mean, wow. What happened there? What box did you need to leave to get on into that box?
That was, wow is right. You know, for the girl that grew up eating cheese.
Yeah.
It's, you know, health and nutrition was intimidating to me, although I really do try to take care of myself. And I call myself the hawk in the tree. I'm always watching for opportunities and wanting to help people. And I have such a passion now for helping people on so many levels. And actually, the jewelry company that taught me so much was very limiting because I could only share really with women. They're wearing jewelry and only in the United States. So through my search and my journey, I found a company that is all plant-based nutrition, which is one of the number one trends right now in the world. And it's actually one of the number one searches on Google. They're internationally certified organic. So this was intriguing to me. And I thought, well, I'm going to start to try the products myself. And of course, Runa, you know this, my mom and my sister both have MS. So I had a real personal, emotional attachment to finding something to help them, and had my mom start trying them, and she'll never walk again, but the difference in how she feels. So I really decided, you know what, I'm going to jump in. I now have an opportunity to not only just help the people close to me, but I can make a difference across the world with men, women, children, you name it. And that's what's so deep in my, they say you just feel it in your gut. And I'm super blessed. Of course, I could say, let fear get in my way. I have a lot to learn. I'm 6 months new in this company. I have learned so much. We've already been traveling the country and doing what we call workshops. And I just am excited for learning more and the journey ahead. This is very exciting for me.
So what I'm hearing here is really that deep need of being able to help another person. Saying that and really feeling that in your presence right here. What is the change that you want to be in the world?
Wow. I should have known you'd ask me that question. For so long, it was really about empowering women because I'd had such a personal journey and, the hurt along the way. And then it grew so much bigger for me. I see so many people struggling with their health, with their confidence, with their financial situation, just everything that's so real. And you look at people that maybe are successful or you perceive as successful, and some people are so door slammed shut. They don't want to help you. They're selfish. It's all about them. And I just want to be the person that can help no matter where they're at in their journey. If it's a physical thing, if it's a health thing, if it's a financial thing, to be able to lead them and help them and know that you guys have heard this before, the butterfly effect, to know that if I help just that one person, it could maybe lead to helping thousands or more in whatever their journey is. And I want to know that I can make that kind of significant difference. Going through the walk I went through and the really down times and the tough times, I realized that was all part of the journey for me to appreciate who I am, how blessed I am, how I got here, and how I can now help others because I can be relatable.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that whether you are born and raised in what you say a small town in Wisconsin, USA, or I come from even smaller nation and place here in Iceland, you can actually break out of any box that you want to break out of and choose the box that is serving you so that you can serve others. Lisa, I have to say thank you so much for your insights. Loved it.
Oh, thanks for having me, Runa. This is just an honor. And who'd have ever thought when we met back in high school that here we'd be
doing a world broadcast.
Absolutely. Thanks. This is great.
Was this podcast of value for you? I sure hope so. If so, feel free to share the love and give us your generous review on iTunes or Stitcher. And remember that you can always go to runamagnus.com to find out more about the Changemakers and how we can help you drive the change you want to see in your world.